from a galaxy far, far away.
And a bookshelf straight out of the 90s.
From Thrawn to Dantooine
And everything in between. This is Legends Look Back.
Hey everybody, welcome to another wild episode of Legends Look Back, and oh my goodness, is this going to be a crazy episode. I've got so many thoughts, so many things to say about tonight's book, but before we get there, I find myself here, it's mid-December, getting into what is always a really stressful period of my reading journey, and I'm wondering if this is the case for some of our listeners or for my co-hosts on tonight's episode. Meg, I know for a fact that this is something that you are also tuned into, and that is, I set myself every January a Goodreads challenge. Do you do this, Meg? You set yourself like a reading goal?
I do set myself a reading goal. I usually try to read a book a week. So, I usually set it around 50.
Okay.
And then I usually just blow right past that. But I mean, minimum.
Yeah. Yeah, where are you at this year, Meg? No, save that. Don't tell us your number yet, because it's going to make my number sound atrociously small.
All right.
And I'm actually quite proud of it. But what I started doing maybe, I don't know how many years ago this was, whenever I first started using Goodreads, I was like, what's a good number? I can read a book every other week. So I set a goal of 25 or 30. Eventually hit that. So I started upping it by 10 every year. Up 10 books. Finally got all the way to a goal of 80 books. And I have absolutely, totally, 100% plateaued.
Oh, no.
I have had a goal of 80 books every year for the last 4 years, and every year, for the last 4 years exactly, I have hit 70 books. Not 69, not 71, exactly 70. I cannot get there. And here we are tonight on December 17th, 2020, and I have read 65 books. I think I'm finally going to have to... F's in the chat for my reading goal. We're going to have to go ahead and finally face the facts that I'm not going to get there. Freddie, what do you think my chances are of getting to my goal of 80? We've got, 13 days left in the year? 14 days? Can I read 14 books in 14 days?
What are the odds the first word Joe Biden utters out of his mouth in his inauguration speech is quack? It's the same percentage.
What?
Never tell me the odds, Freddie.
What?
Never. Freddie's saying I have no chance. No
Basically.
chance whatsoever. That was such a weird way to get there. But
Yeah.
You know what? What about you, Freddie? Do you set yourself a reading goal every year? Do you have any kind of statistic on how you keep track of this thing?
I do. I try to do a book a week. And it is, oh man, I don't even want to tell you mine. My reading number is about half of yours, but
Nothing wrong with that.
nothing wrong with that. And of course, I'm very limited on time in my life. So
Yeah, it's been a busy year professionally for you.
yeah, exactly. Professionally, and then of course, school wise, reading,
Yeah.
Countless pages of that. So it's very limited.
Yeah.
But I try to at least, especially for this podcast. Right now it's reserved for the podcast. So.
It's been, for me, a lot of reading for the podcast this year. Like you said, we're both in grad school. It's been a lot of reading for grad school for me as well. I'm actually on a bit of a tear here at the end of the year with several non-Star Wars books, which I normally read about 10 books a year that are not Star Wars or ministry related. And so in that sweet spot, you've got some fantasy, some series like that, anything that... is a part of a series I've been reading for several years, like a new entry that comes out. I've been reading the final volume of Sabah Tahir's Ember in the Ashes series, which is great. She actually was one of the authors in, from a certain point of view, the first one, the old one, the irrelevant one, the one that's almost as irrelevant as this book that we're going to talk about tonight. But Meg, I do want to hear your number. Go ahead and make my 65 sound terrible. How many books, Meg, have you read in 2020?
As of
Wait,
today.
can we put guesses on it? Can we put guesses?
Yeah. I'll tell you this much. It's more than I've read, but it's fewer than the number of Star Wars books I own.
That's a lot. That's
Which
a
is-
big range, man.
All right, my number's
Okay, yeah.
120.
120?
Ooh.
Oof.
I think it's higher than that.
Oh man.
Oh, dang, I should have went last.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Meg's on the spot here.
Just
She's very proud of herself.
I'm gonna Man, I might be lowballing this or whatever, but I'm going to say 120. No, wait, sorry.
I'm about to say
140. 140.
guess thief.
140? I think it's 165.
145.
145. Okay.
I
Wow.
win.
Freddie takes the cake.
No, Price is Right rules.
What did Freddie say?
I think you said 160.
I'm pretty sure I said 140 something.
Yeah, he said 140. You said 120.
Oh, okay.
Somebody in the YouTube comments who's not watching this live, you can let us know which of us is right, because you have the ability to rewind and back up. How about you, Patrick? I haven't asked you. Have you read any books in 2020?
I have.
Been busy with Conjure Book Club.
Yeah, no. But outside of that, I think what? A sad 30 since like.
That's not sad.
Yeah, it's a sad 30 because yeah. I'm also
Yeah.
lazy, so I
It's
do
sad.
audio.
We can say that was bad. This is a pretty low number. You can do
I'm
better.
also lazy. I do audiobooks. You know that audio.
Yeah,
Hey, get that free audiobook
That's right.
from Audible.
that's right. We've got the Utini link that you can have tonight. It can be yours for the low, low price of finding the link somewhere on the website, utini.com, and you can get that Audible link. And whether you have read 30 books like Patrick, or you've read 145 books like Meg, or not quite 80, for the fourth year in a row, like me, you're in the right place. And I'll tell you one book that you could read, and you can definitely get this one in before the year is over, and that is none other than this absolute masterpiece, The Glove of Darth Vader, which we are going to be talking about on tonight's episode. And without further ado, let's get this party started. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back, a show brought to you by Utini.com, a show that's been described as a podcast that will absolutely not let go of your ego, where we talk about all things Legends, celebrating our rich EU history, as well as diving into lesser-known Star Wars classics like this bad boy right here. I'm your host, Jared Mays, and today I'm joined once again by the great Freddie C. himself. What's up, Freddie?
I'm having a really hard time keeping a straight face for this book, man. Try
You don't
not to
have
laugh
to.
so much.
It's going to be quite the episode.
Patrick, we'll get to him in a bit.
Yeah, for sure. Patrick, man, I was so excited to get you on because I know that this book holds a special place in your heart. How are you doing, man? Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Thank you.
Oh, wow. We are really in for a wild ride. I had no idea what I was in for when a couple months ago I was like, yeah, we can probably... we're about due for like doing one of our obscure Legends books. We've been doing some pretty heavy-hitting, masterpieces of Legends in the Thrawn trilogy. It's time that we bounce over to, one of our weird ones. And, wow, hey, if our goal was getting a weird one, boy, did we succeed. Ooh, but I had never read this and had no idea what I was in for. But before we get into too much detail on that, we are also joined by our producer who keeps us afloat and keeps the show running. She presses the start button and all the other buttons. The tamer of real-life loath wolves, or at least one loath wolf, I'm not sure. Meg Dowell, how are you, Meg?
I am fine. I am pressing all the buttons, and it's great.
That's right. Oh, man. Patrick, what were you saying about this book just a minute ago? It was amazing.
This is one book you can get in on one day, and you can throw it away in that
That's right.
same afternoon.
That's right. You really can, which is definitely the case with my copy because I bought it at the used bookstore this year. And, I'll say this much. For whatever score we're going to end up giving this, and we'll get to it in a minute, I do think, however, that The Glove of Darth Vader... it might be in the running. We'll have to do like our own version of the Utinis one of these days on Legends Look Back. It might be in the running. Freddie, let me know. I know you're big into cover art. It might just have the best cover art in all of Star Wars.
I don't know of any other Star Wars book that has cover art as splendid as this one.
Yeah, I mean, it is unbelievably good by Drew Struzan himself. I mean, for crying out loud, we've got Space Whales in 1992. How many times have I looked at this cover and I've never noticed the Space Whales? All these years. And this week, not only does it have a space whale, it has 5 of them if you count the back cover. That's a lot of space whales, am I right? This is just an absolutely incredible book. And I'll say this much. I only owned the first and the fourth because they were, what was available on thrift books or the used bookstore or whenever I was doing some acquisitions earlier this year. And as soon as I got to the ending of this bad boy, I went on Thrift Books to try to order the rest of the books in the series because I'd like to go ahead and just, now that I've started it, go ahead and plow through, get through all of these, kind of find out what's going on, because it really doesn't even scratch the surface in terms of like the character I really wanted to learn the most about isn't even in this book. We'll save the spoilers for after the spoiler break. All of that is to say, this was incredible. I got on Thrift Books the night that I finished this, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago. And I found the hardcover version of books 1 through 3. There's actually 2 hardcovers of the Jedi print series. And I got it for the low price of nothing. Using my Thrift Books rewards points, all I had to pay was 99 cents in shipping. And it was supposed to be delivered today, and it's since been lost in the mail. So maybe I can show it off on our next episode of Legends Look Back.
Jared, the mail's trying to do you a favor.
Maybe so, but I'm excited. I love me some Legends hardcovers.
I'm just saying,
what can I say?
I don't
It's
think
so
you actually use reward
collectible.
points for that. I just think they just said, here, take it.
They just gave it to me for free, like, hey, we want to get this out of here.
They say, this has been
love
sitting
that.
in the shelf since it came out. Just blow some dust up. Just, here you go.
Yeah, how about you guys? Have you picked up any new Star Wars books since last week's show? We did the holiday gift guide. Did it make you go on a shopping spree, Freddie?
It did. I actually bought a few. I have a few boxes that I have stored just right here that I purchased recently at our local bookstore. They had a ton of Star Wars books. I have no idea why, but one of them that I'm
That's the dream.
yeah. So first of all, no Legends banners. That's my rule.
Oh, yeah.
Unless obviously you're unable to get it without a banner, then do what you can. But yeah,
It can be a placeholder.
Yeah, exactly. I've got Assault at Salonia. Now, I've never read this book, so I'm curious to dig into it. I've read the first novel. This is book 2 of the Corellian trilogy, so I'm pretty excited.
Now, I'm pretty sure, Freddie, correct me if I'm wrong here, but aren't Salonians space otters?
I believe they are cousins to the Bothans.
Okay. I think they're otters. I think there's a cover out there. I'll see if I can find it and throw it in the Legends Look Back Discord channel. There's artwork out there from the Legends universe of Luke Skywalker punching a space otter in the face. And I'm pretty sure it's a Salonian.
Wait, if they're cousins to Bothans, aren't Bothans like space golden retrievers?
Something like that.
I mean, they went to go find the
that,
Death Star plans. Many of those space golden
I know
retrievers died.
that there's like the famous artwork of Captain America punching a Nazi in the face, and Luke Skywalker punching the space otter is basically like the Legends version of that. Did you get any other ones, Freddie, or just that one?
There's a lot more. I can't even memorize them right now. I just saw a box and I picked them all up and I said, these are all mine. So I might have.
There you go.
More...
Man after my own heart.
I might have more copies of Truce of Dakura.
Hey, that's exciting.
Yeah.
Famously, before this year, I owned none, and now I own 3. So that one definitely came out as the real winner in terms of what's taking up the most bookshelf space. Well, how about Patrick, Meg? Either of you get new Star Wars books recently?
I am temporarily holding off on getting more because I have a lot that I haven't read yet, and it's my goal over the next couple months to read them all. Maybe.
That's perfect. Yeah, sometimes that's what you've got to do. My wife and I were just talking about that. She and some of her book buddies were saying, what if we just tried to read the books that we own? But she's not quite like me. She doesn't have nearly as many books on her bookshelf as I do. She reads a lot more digitally. Nothing wrong with that, Meg. Nothing wrong. You've certainly bought enough Star Wars books this year to count.
Yeah, probably.
Well, one Star Wars book that, Meg, you did say you just added to your collection. Was it accidentally? What's the story behind this one, Meg?
Okay, so the book that we're talking about tonight, I like to know what's going on. I'm here to press the buttons, but I'm here. So
yeah.
I figured I would read it along with you guys, and so
when a book is only 82 pages, you've got no excuse.
Yeah, exactly. So I went on to Amazon to see if I could get it in time for the show, but I couldn't. It wasn't going to come until this weekend if I'd ordered it then. So I just left it in my cart and was like, forget it, I'll get it some other time. And then I went to buy something else and didn't take it out of my cart. So now I technically own the book, and it'll be here on Monday. So there you go.
That's not so different from my story where, it's not that you got it for free, but it definitely is like Amazon saying, please take this book.
Oh, I'm surprised a drone didn't just drop it over your house, just like, here, take it. Just,
Oh, man.
You just hear like a loud
imagining-
sound on the window. It's like, is that a bird? Oh, no, that's my Legends book. Okay.
I'm just imagining a Predator drone just flying by with a missile with the book inside of it, just right at the doorstep. That's how badly they want to get rid of it.
A Joker missile that says,
as we
bang.
get into it, this is, of course, book 1 in the Jedi Prince series. The hardbacks call them the Jedi Prince series, which I think is amazing, especially considering the fact that L. Rob just put up a picture of Prince doing a little shimmy in our Discord channel, which, let's be honest, is what I was thinking about most of my way through this book. I was thinking about like the SNL sketch of Maya Rudolph and Fred Armisen where Maya Rudolph says, Prince had to go lift some weights. That's what I was thinking about this entire thing. But it's not about Prince the musician, nor is there an actual Jedi Prince in this book at all. He makes his appearance in book 2, which tonight we're mostly just going to be talking about book 1. We'll spend a little bit of time on the rest of the series, but let's be honest, The Glove of Darth Vader is the only one that I have read, therefore, what we're going to talk about in the most detail tonight. This book was released in June of 1992, which really places it early in the Legends continuity, at least in real world, the real world timeline in terms of when Legends books were being put out. Of course, we had some Han Solo and Lando Calrissian books in the 80s. You had the novelizations, but other than the Marvel comics, there really wasn't much out yet at this point. Only Heir to the Empire, and if I'm not wrong, just Heir to the Empire and Dark Empire are the only Legends books out at this point. Not to mention Splinter of the Mind's Eye. I almost left that one out. Oh, that would have been bad, wouldn't it, Freddie? Oh, yeah. That would have just been atrocious if I didn't mention that one. But these basically form 3 different alternate timelines on what might have happened after Return to the Jedi, all coming out within a year of each other: Heir to the Empire, Dark Empire, and The Glove of Darth Vader. And, hey, let's be honest, this one is definitely swinging for the fences. We'll give it that much. This, of course, comes from the authors Paul and Hollis Davis, which famously only wrote this series and this series only. However, these of being published in 1992, 1993 did get 2 hardback reprints mentioned earlier in 1997, one of which is going to show up on my doorstep any day now, except for maybe not because it's not here yet. And as mentioned earlier, there is cover art by Drew Struzan and even, see if I can get this up for the camera, Freddie, what'd you think of the interior art by Carl Kessel, which is actually this person's name? It is not a pseudonym for our Utini buddy Carl. Carl Kessel. Doesn't that sound like Carl is just trying to use the stage name?
It does.
Especially considering the fact that Kessel is actually in this book,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
So I'm going to show up the Rogues Gallery here. Instead of a dramatis personae, they have... It's like that game Guess Who, where you're like, does your character have a mustache? And then you flip him down. You know what I'm talking about, Freddie?
I do, yeah.
The little heroes villains section at the beginning of the book. Oh,
I thought it was
yeah,
great.
isn't that amazing?
I like it. I think it's awesome.
It's amazing.
Luke Skywalker and Han Solo both have just the most plump lips.
No, they do.
And Chewbacca looks more like Lumpy from the holiday special than he looks like Chewbacca.
They got the 90s Legends flavor for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And there's one other image I want to show off. I'll try to get a scan of this up in the Discord channel. The last image in the book, it's on page 81, is of a droid and Trioculus and Grand Moff Hissa. I mean, this is the most 90s mustache twirly villain image that has ever existed in Legends. Oh man, I'm so glad that I got this one as a physical copy so I could get these illustrations. A lot of times with this kind of stuff I'll try to find something digitally, but you really want these interior illustrations. Interestingly enough, of course, in the timeline, this was supposed to be in 5 years after the Battle of Yavin, about a year after the Battle of Endor, and there's a lot of retcons that have existed since the publication of this book to try to make it fit or to try to write it out of continuity. Hey, all of that's up to you, and we are going to get into it now. So, remember, this is going to be spoiler-heavy territory. This is your chance. It's only 82 pages, and about, 20 of those are illustrations, full-page illustrations. So, you could read this in maybe even an hour. And you totally should. So, without further ado, let's get it started. In the aftermath of the Battle of Endor, the Imperial Moffs are ready to proclaim their galactic emperor at their super secret Moffrence on Kessel. That's right, it's a conference of Moffs called a Moffrence. Whoever came up with that, it deserves to be the emperor for sure. Whoever gave it that title. Anyway, the rebels smuggled their top sneaky spies, R2-D2 and C-3PO, to find out who the new emperor is and report back. To their surprise, the Moffs declare Palpatine's secret three-eyed son, Trioculus, as emperor. Need proof that he's actually Palpatine's son? Look, he has sparkle fingers. I mean, Force lightning. Anyway, he makes a grand display of what appears to be Force lightning, which is a pretty good campaign platform if you ask me, especially in an election year. But silly Trioculus, didn't you know that the only way to claim the throne is to find and wear the indestructible glove of Darth Vader? Even though Darth Vader wasn't actually the Emperor? Just roll with it. It's pretty cool. So Trioculus dispatches troops, spies, and probably probe droids all over the Endor system to find that dang glove. And that's where the space whales come in. That's right, space whales. Whalodons, actually. They live on Mon Calamari, and their meat is a delicacy to the Imperial elite. The thing is, of course, as you can imagine, with space whales, they're endangered and illegal to hunt, but imps are gonna imp, am I right? So the leader of the Whalodon hunting operation, Captain Dunwell, discovers some Death Star chunks under the sea on Mon Calamari, apparently displaced from Endor via a black hole or some other space tomfoolery. He invites Trioculus to Mon Calamari to recover the glove so that he can solidify his hold on the Empire. Remember how C-3PO and R2 were totally capable of doing that super important spy mission? Well, yeah, that didn't quite turn out as they hoped, so their escape shuttle was blown up by TIE fighters, but good old Luke Skywalker never really thought they could do this in the first place, and came to their rescue with the aid of Admiral Akbar. He takes them to the closest New Republic planet, Mon Calamari. Isn't that convenient? So that they can download the data and transmit it to their allies. He feels the anguish, Luke does, that is, of the Whalodons through the Force as soon as they arrive on the planet. So they team up with their leader, Leviathor, which isn't that the coolest Star Wars name ever? Leviathor? We got Leviathor, we got Trioculus.
I know what I'm naming my first son.
Absolutely.
Wait, which one?
Or daughter.
Or daughter, doesn't matter.
Yeah, you better not name them Trioculus.
Leviathor.
Otherwise, they're doomed.
That's your daughter.
So they're going to destroy the Whalodon processing plant. This leads them into the path of Trioculus and the site of the Death Star remnants, where the book comes to its climactic finale. Trioculus and Dunwell find the glove at the bottom of the ocean, leading Trioculus to wonder how he will be able to force choke dissenters like Vader did, even though he doesn't have the Force. What? He doesn't actually have the Force? Does that mean he's not actually a Palpatine? In true 90s villain fashion, Trioculus waxes poetic to Captain Dunwell about how he has teamed up with the Grand Moffs to devise this dastardly scheme in which he declares himself the son of Palpatine, implants cyborg Force power equipment into his fingertips to give him the power to do Force lightning, and now he's gonna put some kind of a sonic device into Darth Vader's glove to simulate Force choking people by actually bursting their eardrums or something like that. Anyway, and all of this is so that he will be able to share power with the Moffs, which, he's totally gonna do, right? He's totally gonna share power with the Moffs. Yeah, right. Well played. Well, the book ends with Trioculus escaping with the glove, murdering Captain Dunwell, and vowing to destroy Luke Skywalker once and for all. But Luke, in his defense, totally saves the space whales because he's a good boy. Wow, what a book. And I'll say this much, Freddie. This is what I said to Freddie as soon as we started our call tonight. This book, for me, might actually be worse than Splinter of the Mind's Eye. But I don't know. Whatever score I gave it, it deserves 0.1 higher. I'll say that much. Freddie, what's the score you're going to give to The Glove of Darth Vader?
This is tough. I think I have to put myself in, and here's the thing, I don't rate books professionally, so all the numbers I give you are always going to be my personal preference. But this is a tough one because it's written for young readers, and I don't really read those books often anymore, so it's tough for me to really reference anything. But just putting the story together, right, the goofiness of the whales and the lesson it's trying to teach you with the endangered species and etc., etc. There's some good points there, and I'm glad that it was showing the kids of the '90s, how to do it. I don't know.
We need to get a second grader on this podcast to read this book.
You
with
save
us.
the whales.
Give
You
us their
stop
rating.
the evil empire.
I'm gonna
That's
give
right.
it. This is tough, man. I'm gonna give it like a 5.
Oh, hey, that's generous. I was thinking like 2.9.
Oh yeah. I could see that.
Patrick, the thing is for you, I know you read this when you were younger. For me, this is one that I saw on the shelf and instead opted for like the new Jedi Order at age 10. So I just went straight into the deep end. I read a lot of like the Jude Watson books, the like Jedi Academy, Jedi Apprentice, or what are they called? Jedi Quest. I read a lot of those, but famously never read these. However, so many friends and family members in my life who have only ever read like a few Star Wars books. This is a series that they read as kids. So this book, at least for like my brother-in-law Riley, he read these books when he was younger. I was talking to a friend, my friend Caleb's big into Star Wars books with me. He was saying he read these as a kid. Patrick, I know for you, there's a nostalgic element in all of this. So what's your rating, man?
All right, Child Patrick says 7 because that's Child Patrick and he doesn't know any better. Grown Patrick says hell to the .0 no.
Do you give it a 1? Does it even get a 1?
It gets a 2. It gets a 2.
Okay.
Oh, man.
2 is fair. 2 is fair. What's fun is there's not actually an official UTini rating on these, so we're going to have to try to come up with that before tonight's over, so that we can go ahead and give us some quotes and updates. So everybody, if you've read this book along with us, we really need your reviews on the site and get some fan comments on this.
I'm gonna die laughing if that's
well,
like the next review on the Living Force next week.
they read the a bunch of Glove of Darth Vader reviews. They're like, why is everybody reviewing this thing all at once? And we'd love to know, is this a book that you read when you were younger? Is this something that holds a nostalgic place for you? Seriously, we'd like to know. And if you give it more than a 2 point... What's our highest rating tonight? A 5? Freddie says a 5.
Yeah, barely.
If you give it higher than that, it takes the cake. Well, as we have done in recent episodes, we've been doing 2-part roundtables. The first episode, we talk about the characters. The second episode, we talk about the overarching questions. For the Thrawn trilogy, we had 6 episodes to talk about that whole trilogy, 2 episodes per book. There are 6 books in this series, so for the next 12 weeks, we're going to be talking all about Jedi Prince. Aren't you excited? Okay, no, we're not quite going to do that. The look on Patrick's face says it all. We are going to, in this one episode, tell you everything you need to know about this Jedi Prince series. Specifically, the Glove of Darth Vader. We'll have a couple of questions about characters that pop up in the rest of the series as well. So let's start with those characters and the infamous villain of this bad boy, Trioculus himself. Not to be confused with Triclops, who comes up in Book 2, who we discover is the actual son of Palpatine. Maybe, kind of. There's retcons. We'll get there. Trioculus, though. Patrick, at what point did you start to question whether or not Trioculus was actually the son of Palpatine?
When I saw that third bulging eye in his forehead.
Okay, that was a giveaway?
I'm just saying, knowing what I know from good old Papa Palps, you know he would have disowned him if his kid came out with 3 eyes.
Yeah.
Like, no boy of mine's going to have a third eye. Throw him in the trash compactor with that little squid thing.
Into the trash compactor, Flyboy. Oh my goodness. I can imagine him passing off his son to like a droid to raise or something like that. Trioculus for me. Hey, you discovered it faster than I did. I was definitely like, okay, I know that this series, like there's a descendant of Palpatine. I'm not sure who it is. I've heard of a Ken Palpatine. I know he's going to come up at some point. We're going to get there. So maybe Trioculus is his dad, or maybe Trioculus is actually named Ken. Maybe we'll get there. Eventually at the end of the book, I gotta say, I was a little bit surprised. So, hey, maybe that was was late to the party or slow on the roll. What about you, Freddie? When did you figure it out?
Yeah, this is a tough one. I didn't actually know until he was talking about it, but if you look at the grand scheme of things, in my opinion, I just saw the space whales and I was like, anything goes. 3 eyes, maybe.
Absolutely.
So I didn't know until he actually said it. I was caught by surprise. I was like, oh my goodness, this guy is pulling it over on all of them.
All right, I'm glad I'm not in this alone, Freddie. Yeah, amazingly, what solidified his hold on the claim to the throne is two things. One, there is a rumor going around on Coruscant or throughout the galaxy that Palpatine has a three-eyed son that he disowned, who was a mutant, and they were like, well, I guess he's just kind of stayed under wraps until now. I've heard the rumor about a three-eyed son. Guess it could be him. And the Force lightning. So he's got the rumor and the Force lightning and the support of the Moffs, so I guess that's three things. That's really all you need, right? Freddie, what did you make of Trioculus's fake Force powers? This is actually not so different from an element that came up recently in canon in the first of three Darth Vader comics. We're now on our third volume of Darth Vader comics. This was the first one by Kieran Gillen. There was like the X-Men of Star Wars, but they were evil. There was like a Mon cow, and they had like implants to simulate Force powers. Did you read this? You know what I'm talking about?
I had never read this.
Okay. Yeah, it is something that's not so different from an actual canon element in a recent comic. Freddie, though, what did you make of Trioculus's fake Force powers? Was this smart? Was this dastardly? Was it stupid? What do you think?
I think it's brave that he would fake them because I'm trying to think of Jedi Force powers, and it doesn't seem like it's something that you can really fake that well, but obviously he did it. Cybernetics, leave it to Star Wars to invent some new technologies to simulate Jedi powers. But yeah,
what about you?
One more thing, I was thinking he reminds me of Hondo Anaka, who I'm pretty sure Hondo created a lot of things that were similar to Jedi. I can't remember exactly. I've got to go back and watch those episodes.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I'll say this much. On the cover, the Drew Struzan cover art pictures Trioculus very different than the interior art. I'm trying to remember the name of the actor who played Agent Smith in like The Matrix. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
Not Keanu Reeves, the villain. What is the actor's name? Hugo Weaving.
Yeah.
So on the cover, correct me if I'm wrong here, I am fairly certain that this is Hugo Weaving that he is portraying, or at least looks a lot like Hugo Weaving as Trioculus, which maybe the early 90s is too early for Hugo Weaving to be to be a thing, to be popular as an actor. But he definitely looks like debonair. The interior art, though, he really looks very mustache twirly.
Yeah.
Like a Grand Admiral Thrawn on a very bad day and not blue and has a third eye. Anyway, it's definitely bold, definitely brave. Patrick, what do you think about the fake Force powers?
Hey, man, you gotta fake it till you make it. And
That's right.
he was on his way to making it.
Check out this quote. This was an actual quote. This is actual text from the book. I kid you not, okay? So this is saving you from reading it, everybody. This is something that's actually in the book. He says this: "My father, the Emperor, had many powers of the dark side, but without three eyes, he became obsessed with." Well, no, I skipped lines. Take two. "My father, the Emperor, had many powers of the dark side, but without three eyes, he could never achieve perfection." Without three eyes, he could never achieve perfection. So, if you actually look up his powers on Wikipedia, on Wikipedia, or the Wook, as I like to call it, if you look up his powers, like, powers and abilities section with every character, with this one, there's the power of his implanted lightning fingers. There's the power of his glove and the fact that he installs like this sonar ear-busting device to simulate a force choke. And there's a third power that is his third eye. His third eye is one of his powers, which apparently has hypnotic powers. Mm-hmm. Did you catch that? Is that in this book, Freddie?
They talked about it briefly with Captain Dunwell, I believe, but they didn't really go into it.
His hypnotic third eye. Look at, not this one, this one. The one right in the middle of the forehead, okay?
It'd be funny if it was like the left or the right one, but not the one on the forehead.
Yeah, no, not that one. Don't look at that one. Look at this one. No, not this one. Look at this one. Anyway, amazing.
Like an amazing experience for him.
What's that?
Going to the optometrist might be an amazing experience for him. He just like puts his thing to his forehead. "You will cover my copay. My insurance is accepted."
Absolutely. Later in the series, though, Trioculus becomes obsessed with trying to marry Princess Leia, even though this book ends in Leia and Han's wedding, which eventually, is retconned into saying, well, this wasn't actually their wedding, because they get married in the courtship of Princess Leia, but, happy endings and all that. We also have him becoming obsessed with trying to kill Ken Palpatine. Then he gets involved in a scuffle with his rival, Zorba the Hutt. I love me a good Legends-y Hutt. And on top of all that, he has his fake force powers and his false identity. Freddie, which of these do you think, the obsession with Leia, Ken Palpatine, trying to defeat Zorba, the fake force powers, the false identity, you got a lot of options here. Which of these was his biggest mistake? What's his real downfall? And don't say the third eye.
Well, can we claim Pizza the Hut, first of all? I want to claim Pizza the Hut.
Pizza the Hut was found
downfall.
dead after he ate himself.
Let's see. I don't know. I would say definitely, of course, it's his fake identity. But, you don't cross a hut, man. You never cross a hut.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point. I can't actually say because I haven't gotten to Zorba yet, so I'm not sure what her whole deal is. His? Who knows? Patrick, what do you think? Where did Trioculus go wrong in this scheme?
Trying to marry Princess...
At least in this book, he's pulling it off.
In this book, but the grand scheme, he's trying to marry Princess Leia. Nope. Messed up and started an intergalactic love triangle. That'll get you nothing but problems, man. Even if you do marry her, she doesn't like you. Then she's going to take half of the empire. Boom. That's how alimony works in a galaxy far, far away.
Take a lesson from Prince Isolder. Fabio. It's never right to try to marry a princess and steal her out from under Han Solo. If there's one thing Han Solo is, it's incredibly stubborn, especially when it comes to his ladies.
Back.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Trioculus, hey, he's pulling it off in this book. He successfully gets the glove of Darth Vader and even upgrades it, which is, kind of bold to do. One of the things, of course, that comes up in this is the fact that although he has claimed the title of Emperor, there is this sub-cult that's kind of running behind the scenes known as the Prophets of the Dark Side, and their leader Kanadin, or something like that. He is making this prophecy, this prediction that you actually have to have the glove of Darth Vader in order to claim the throne, which is interesting. And then in the next book, there ends up being this prophecy that there is a Jedi Prince, who we find out is actually Palpatine's real grandson, that has a claim to the throne. You're going to have to eliminate him if you actually want the throne. It's a whole thing. Ken Palpatine, really, it's a thing. We're getting there. But in your opinion, Freddie, how do the Prophets of the Dark Side fit into Legends continuity? This is something for me that actually kind of works. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. The light side of the Force, the Jedi, as we'll call them, but they do have prophets, right? They do have prophets.
That's something, that's come up more prominently recently.
Yeah,
Claudia Gray's stuff.
Mm-hmm. So part of it is if they have prophets, why can't the dark side have prophets? And I think it's a great idea. Granted, I don't know how the Sith would take that. Right? They don't tell me what to think. Kind of people. Right? Just that's their MO. So I would find it hard for dark prophets to really succeed as compared to Jedi prophets.
Yeah, the whole thing with predicting the future, of course, as Yoda says, is it's always in motion. So I imagine that dark side prophets are not going to be nearly as forgiving in terms of being open to possibilities. They're probably going to say this is the way it is. You better do it right. For me, it really fits in well because you've got, and I don't know how exactly this is established, but in my head legends, there's those purple-robed weirdos hanging out with Palpatine in Return of the Jedi before, the throne room scene. You know what I'm talking about?
Purple-robed weirdos.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the regular Legends Look-Back crew. I'm talking about, the ones with the big hats. Right? That's, in my mind, that's who the Prophets of the Dark Side are. They go to Palpatine and tell him, hey, this whole plan is not going to work well. You better abort at the last minute. You're about to be eliminated. We've received a vision. That works for me. I think in canon recently that's been brought back in. We've learned a little bit more about who they are. I can't tell you off the top of my head. I run the Legends podcast here, so I'm pretty well read with canon, but don't retain it quite on the same way, because something special about making a podcast about this stuff that causes you to like really read it with a lot of attention to detail. You kind of walk the fence between Legends and canon, though, Patrick. We claim you over here. You're also on Conja Book Club. How do the Prophets of Darkside fit in the continuity for you?
No, I'm with y'all. It does make sense. Like I said, one order's going to have their own mystics, their own people who are trying to foresee the future and, manipulate it. And it would be natural for the other side. Granted, I don't see the Sith listening to them at all. Like, yeah. Can you see them taking a warning seriously? Like, they're anti-maskers. They're not listening.
Yeah, they're the ones that like to spray paint the word "don't" over the word right. "stop" on all the space stop signs. Yeah, I imagine that they're not great at listening. I'm imagining that like Prophets of the Dark Side, they're more like Darksiders are about controlling the Force, not listening to the Force. Not great listeners to the Sith, not exactly what they're known for. But it's something that kind of works in this series. At least it's nice to have different factions within the villains. And one of these factions, of course, is the fact that Trioculus is trying to usurp the Empire because, hey, after all, there is this rumor that Palpatine had a three-eyed son, and we do find out later in the series that, well, he did, and he was rejected, and he's not nearly as villainous as Trioculus, and his name, not to be confused with Trioculus, is Triclops. Wow, what a great name, ever. That one. Triclops. Yeah, not Cyclops, but Triclops. He can shoot 3 lasers at once. Who ends up, if I'm right here, and let's be honest, my knowledge of him is entirely from the Wook, ends up having a love child with a Jedi, which is kind of fun, and dangerous and off limits, and eventually results in their own child who has exactly 2 eyes, but lots of Force potential. Ken Palpatine, but he doesn't want to be known by Ken Palpatine, just Ken. It's just Ken. Who is raised in the Lost City of the Jedi on Yavin 4. I'm not making this stuff up. This is actually in this series. And let's be honest, there's a lot of attempts at retconning Triclops, the fact that Palpatine had a 3-eyed son. Okay, to varying degrees of success, let's be honest. Depending on one's point of view, of course. One, of course, is that Triclops was not Palpatine's biological son, but the product of a scientific experiment. One version of this story, the one that I like the most, is that he was brought about by Darth Plagueis, not by Palpatine, using some of Palpatine's genes, which is very interesting. Another retcon is to make Triclops the son of Palps and Sly Moore, which seems to be the most established version of the story, if we're going to consider any of this established at all. And another retcon is that the Jedi Prince series had in fact been a children's story of the actual events told to the solo children by Leia. What a bedtime story about Palpatine's 3-eyed love child. Which of these versions, Patrick, do you prefer? Which of the retcons makes this work the best for you?
I like the bedtime story one. She's just playing this all up like it kind of happened, but I just had to make it interesting so they shut up and go to bed.
Yeah. Hey, if one thing's for certain about Palpatine, he's really good at comebacks, and he always has more hidden love children than you think he does.
Yeah. He had to be Emperor. There was no way he was not paying off all that child support if he wasn't. He had to be. It was top or bust, baby.
Freddie, which of these versions works the best for you?
I love Ken Palpatine. First of all, just just call me Ken, not Ken Palpatine.
Yeah, it's just Ken.
Just call me Ken.
I'm not gonna call you that.
But I really like the idea of a bedtime story for the kids, and reading this, I'm now putting it into like if that were the book that I read, it would make sense, right? But that's not exactly what happened. But I like that idea of her reading the book to the kids.
Obviously, this coming out in 1992 predates the existence of Darth Plagueis in established chronology. However, one retcon that does make a lot of sense to me is that Darth Plagueis, in his attempts to learn how to manipulate life, manipulate midichlorians, and Palpatine, of course, in Dark Empire, which I love, and even now in The Rise of Skywalker in canon, we've got Palpatine doing these biological experiments to try to prolong life, and there's clones, and Oh boy, are there ever clones in Legends. One version of this is that Triclops is a failed experiment, right? To have a three-eyed mutant son of Palpatine, who then is rejected and cast off. But then, like, hey, he doesn't want to pursue the dark path, and so he ends up marrying a Jedi or having a love child by a Jedi. I'm not totally sure on the nature of that relationship. We'll get there one of these days. Which ends up in Ken Palpatine, who falls in with the good guys. It was rescued by Luke Skywalker there on Yavin 4. Who, of course, Ken Palpatine is accompanied by his droid, Microchip. What great names in this series. What great names. And his pet Mooka, named Zebo, who was discovered by Trioculus after learning of the prophecy of the Jedi Prince from the prophets of the dark side, then was taken in by Luke Skywalker, joined the Rebel Alliance, Ken Palpatine. Now, be careful, everybody, if you're Googling on the Wook about Ken Palpatine, because there is a fake Wikipedia page about Ken Palpatine that is not the canonical Legends version of the story of Ken Palpatine, which is basically somebody who really had a field day with taking the story of Ken Palpatine and then making him go down this dark path of him being evil and taking over the galaxy, and it is wild. And it's got a picture of Jason Solo as the image. I was reading this thing earlier and was like, what happened? I'm pretty sure that's not what happens in this story, so be careful out there. It is the Wild West on the Wook when it comes to Ken Palpatine. But Freddie, let me ask you this. When it comes to Ken, does it make any sense to you that Palpatine's grandson would choose to follow the light path and fall in with Luke Skywalker? Or, if you're the grandson of Palpatine and you realize that, like, the current pretender emperor is gunning for you, do you try to take the throne for yourself? Which path do you choose if you're Ken Palpatine?
I could never see a Palpatine relative ever go to the light side. Obviously, we've seen that, but yeah, I think it's pretty cool.
Have we seen that?
I think we've.
Yeah.
I like the fact that Palpatine, just because his name is Palpatine, I don't think he has to be a Sith, right? But obviously,
there's a lot of storytelling potential here.
I could see a lot of angst, but the opposite way. Palpatine telling his son, go kill that person. He's like, I don't want to kill them,
I just want to save the space whales.
I just want to save the whales, Dad. Exactly.
You're a disappointment to me and my empire. Get out of my house.
Is that your Palpatine impression?
That's a great one.
Now say unlimited power.
Unlimited power.
All right, that was better. Patrick, what do you think, though? If you're Ken Palpatine, do you try to take the throne?
Nah, you shorten your name to Palps. And, just go live a normal life. Don't. You say, you want to distance yourself from that family? It's like being, like, one of the offshoot Kardashians. If you don't really want, like, the drama that comes with it.
Offshoot Kardashians?
You just kind of, like, you take, like, one of, like, the middle names and just go off somewhere and chill. Just collect the checks.
I
and
knew
chill.
this episode was going to be wild, but it has definitely been wilder than I could have imagined. Wow. Well, we've talked about the characters. We've talked about Trioculus. We've talked about Triclops. We've talked about Ken Palpatine. Whew. Let's talk about some of the overarching questions. One of the ways that this has already been creeping up so far in the episode is the fact that we've gotten something not so dissimilar to this in The Rise of Skywalker, the idea that Palpatine could have a descendant. Of course, Ken Palpatine, Rey Palpatine. Freddie, how does this story read differently now that we have Rey Palpatine in The Rise of Skywalker? I think it really has brought the glove of Darth Vader and the Jedi Prince series back into relevance in its own way, hasn't it?
Yeah, I could see, back, oh man, back, I forget when I was reading about Palpatine, my mom was asking me if Palpatine had kids at all. And I first of all, I was like, nah, he never had kids. There's no way. He's just a solo evil person, and I've been corrected. So that's all.
He's in love with the dark side.
He's in love with the dark side, Mom.
Yeah, it's like for me in the church, growing up, there was as a teenager this movement of like, don't be so concerned with dating, just be married to Jesus. I imagine that's kind of how Palpatine was. Like he's married to his own dastardly agenda.
But think about it.
Oh.
Think about it. Ken is Snoke, because you can't spell Snoke without Ken.
Oh, wow. Hey, mind blown, Patrick. Mind blown. That does it for this week on Legend. No, okay. Patrick, this is a book that you read as a kid. When you saw The Rise of Skywalker, did it have you thinking about this book?
It did not, actually.
Okay. Swinging.
Yeah, no, it did. It didn't. Honestly, I thought more of The Rise of Skywalker made me go back to more of like Old Republic, like Sith essence transfer material.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this one kind of like dipped out of the memory banks until recently.
Yeah, this is definitely a book that has a series that has faded into obscurity. In fact, it's really not acknowledged very much in Legends at all. All of the retcons that have taken place with it, for the most part, have been in like obscure short stories, stuff that's like only released online, stuff only Trevor knows about. You know what I'm talking about? But in its own way, Jedi Prince does serve as an early alternative sequel to Return of the Jedi, right? As opposed to what we got in more established Legends chronology, such as Heir to the Empire and even Dark Empire. Even compared to Dark Empire, the Glove of Darth Vader is obscure and irrelevant. Is there anything, though, guys, in this book that you prefer? Is there anything that this book does well in comparison to its rivals?
Scary looking villain. Grand Moff Hissa gave me nightmares.
Yeah, I mean, hey, it's the bald head. It's that receding hairline. That's in
the hairline and the shark teeth.
teeth.
Yeah, like, good God, I used to freak out. Like that?
This is a tough one. I don't know if there's many redeeming qualities other than the lesson of saving the whales. That would be my what I liked about this book a lot. And I was going to save this for a little bit later, but I can't sit on this anymore. Is the Imperials have now taken an evil liking to things, right? Before they were just very militaristic, conformity, but in here they say dark greetings to each other, like dark greetings. I bid dark greetings to thee.
Yeah.
It just
they've gone all in on the whole dark side thing.
They're loving the evil and the dark side, right? It just I could not get past that. Every time they would bid dark greetings to each other, I thought it was just insane, hilarious. But also, I don't know if you guys knew this, but this book was ordered at the same exact time of Heir to the Empire. These two books.
Was it?
Yeah. So I wonder. I think not Dark Empire. It was Heir to the Empire. Yeah, it was Heir to the Empire. So they ordered this the exact same time. Bantam. So it's curious.
Not great collaborators, these early Legends authors.
That's what I was trying to get to. Is just how the spectrums were very different across the board.
Yeah, and they do pick up on the collaboration. I mean, there ends up being tremendous collaboration between like Mike Stackpole, Timothy Zahn, Kevin J. Anderson. They end up working really well together eventually, but it takes a while to get there. Yeah. The one thing I think I really like in this that makes a lot of sense for me logically, and it's not the Glove of Darth Vader. That one does not make a ton of logical sense. Is this the fact that the Moffs would want to appoint a new emperor after Palpatine was killed, and we really don't see that in the Bantam Legends books. You've got warlords trying to stake their claim in the galaxy, Isard and Zinj and Thrawn, but you really don't see an emperor or empress rise to power like Trioculus is trying to do here. So, gotta hand it to them in that regard at the very least. So why are they having their Moffrents, though, on Kessel? That's a big question I've got about this.
First of all,
why
Moffrents?
Kessel? Moffrents, I mean, that's a great name. Absolutely great. I hear Meg laugh in the background.
And
here.
You have to start all Moffrences by twirling your evil mustache. Just like
and
you have a whole...
dark greetings.
Yeah, dark greetings. Twirls evil mustache for 30 seconds. And we can begin.
Draw this one out a little bit more. Then I can start twirling it. Why on Kessel, though? Freddie, what do you think about the way this book references like original trilogy locations?
Oh, it's so funny.
Pretty egregious, isn't it?
It is, especially for this time frame. They just grabbed some of the most popular planets that you could think of, or just not even popular. I just feel like they just went up to like a map of the galaxy, right? Just say George Lucas's office, and they're like, all right, Mon Calamari and this one over here. What is that one? Kessel. Okay, let's pick those two. And then
to be fair, neither of those planets are in the original trilogy.
Yeah, and it's also crazy to me because they try to retcon themselves by picking a planet, Mon Calamari, where the Death Star remains are ending up for some reason, right?
Right.
They try to retcon themselves and say, "Oh, just some space bubble."
Black holes. Right.
Black
Yeah,
holes.
sure. It works. Which is not so different from what happens in The Rise of Skywalker, though. Death Star remains on an ocean planet, which is not the planet it probably should have landed on.
Oh,
Hey,
yeah.
it works. If it worked in The Rise of Skywalker, it can work here. At least there's space whales in this one.
Yeah. At least we didn't get to see that in any of the movies. I'm waiting.
In the Galaxy's Edge, not Galaxy's Edge, in Star Tours, they've got a Rise of Skywalker planet. Not that you can really go to many theme parks this year, but eventually, when everybody gets the chance to ride Star Tours with the Rise of Skywalker planets, you can actually go into Exegol, into the remains of the Death Star underwater, and it's just full of Dianogas, which is a ton of fun.
That's awesome.
They're eyeballs, and I do love the comment from Skooma Joe in the chat. He says, "I wish Rey had the third eyeball." That really would have sealed the
It's
deal
under the
for
bun.
Skooma Joe.
It's
That's...
under like the 3 buns in the back. She just
Oh, it's on the backside. Okay.
I never answered
That's
your
what
question.
the third bun is for.
Why did they have the Moffrents on Kessel? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's above ground. You know what we end up learning in the Jedi Academy trilogy about Kessel is that, it's basically known for its mining of glitterstim spice. It's got the big spiders. It's got Kip Duron. Of course, it's known for the Kessel Run, which did you notice its reference to the Kessel Run in this, Patrick?
I did not. I must have missed that one.
So it actually tries to course correct from the use of the word parsecs in A New Hope. So they actually say, Han Solo says, "Oh, I've been to Kessel. That's the planet where I did the Kessel Run in less than 12 time parts."
Yeah.
And it's like they're trying so hard to fix it, but oh, come on, it just doesn't quite work.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's like, well, okay, the Moffs, they can't be on Coruscant because obviously, the rebels are going to be, taking back some of these key planets. So let's go somewhere a little bit obscure, but a planet that's also mentioned in the original trilogy, but not a planet that we see in the original trilogy. The big problem with it, though, is they don't fully commit to trying to make Kessel a real lived-in, memorable planet in this. So, hey, leave it to another Legends author to pick up the baton and keep running with it and, do something memorable with Kevin J. Anderson. Definitely does, and we are going to be getting to those books before too long here on Legends Look Back. But you know what else doesn't make a ton of sense? Not just the fact that they're having the Moffrents on Kessel. The fact that Darth Vader's glove is indestructible. And the fact that it ends up under the oceans of Mon Calamari. Patrick, which of those to you is less believable? The fact that Darth Vader's glove is somehow indestructible, or that it ends up under the ocean on a planet that's nowhere near Endor?
I'm going with the indestructible because we saw that thing go. That thing blew. It went supernova when it blew. It was just like little bits, just charred bits, just flying out there.
I'm gonna have to rewatch Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, that thing looked like a nuclear test site. That hand.
Freddie, did you catch that?
Yeah. I caught that. It's almost like a little supernova. Like, doof.
Well, in this, it's fine. It's totally indestructible. Not been bothered by the fact that it's been buried underwater. No rust. It's not even all that soggy. Not nearly as soggy as like a bowl full of noodles, which we love our noodles here on Legends Look Back.
No.
Luke also loves
Question.
noodles. Well,
wasn't his hand cut off too, right before the?
Yes. It should have a rotted hand inside.
Or at least like little robot fingers just slides right out like. Boom.
Okay, yeah, I guess it wouldn't be a real hand. Robot fingers.
Yeah.
That's what this book
Robot
needed.
fingers.
That really would have made this book more believable if it had had robot fingers.
And they
under the
needed
ocean.
to slide out the
Totally.
glove in comedic fashion, just hear a little boom hit the ground.
Absolutely. That really would have helped a lot. Well, let me ask you this. How nuts do you think Kylo Ren would go if he got the glove of Darth Vader as a Life Day present? Frank?
He would
It's
go
that time of
crazy.
the year. We just had our holiday spectacular. Unfortunately, the glove of Darth Vader did not make our holiday wish list last week. But, I mean, can you imagine just how pumped he would be if, like, Hux got him this?
That would be fascinating. He would just have it. I'm not sure if he would wear it or if he would just put it on his nightstand. I mean, if it's
Put it on
indestructible.
his nightstand.
Yeah, I mean, if
He
imagine
would make a lamp out of it.
imagine Snoke just getting pissed off at Kylo for wearing a glove, and him in the elevator smashing the glove, but it's just destroying everything but the glove.
The glove won't be destroyed. It's indestructible. Oh, man. Isn't that amazing? Well, Patrick, I asked Freddie a weird question. I'm going to ask you this one. What do you think Whalodon meat tastes like? You're from Florida. I know you guys eat some weird seafood down there.
Hey, we will not be that our alligator eating slander will not be tolerated on this podcast.
I love alligator. I do love some fried gator.
Alligator's amazing, man. But I always thought it was like shark. It would taste like shark. Like
yeah, shark. It's like kind of fatty, kind of chewy,
and oily. But
yeah,
you have to really doctor it up to make it taste good. Like you can't.
Freddie, you ever eaten shark?
I have not eaten shark ever.
Clearly, Patrick and I both have.
Hey, I mean, they can bite us. I gotta bite back sometime. I gotta let him know when I walk into that beach, I'm also a threat.
Legends Look Back, where we eat sharks and talk about it. Wow.
King of the oceans.
I've got a buddy who smokes his own bacon, and I just would love to imagine that Whalodon meat, like, you know, if you put it on the smoker, it would just be unbelievably tasty. Freddie, why do you think the Moffs go so crazy for Whalodon meat? Is it the fact that it's like illegal and dangerous, or is it just like the fact that the authors are trying to say, "Hey, it's the '90s, let's save the planet"?
Yeah, definitely save the whales in the '90s. That seems like the theme. And Skooma Joe in the chat is asking if it was really called the Moffrents or if we're joking. It is actually called Moffrents.
Yeah, it is.
Yep. Yeah.
Wes says he thinks this book needs to make an appearance on Lightspeed Skipping. I will definitely, once that show comes back off hiatus, I'll be slipping all of my copies into the stack whenever I'm choosing books. Just for you. Wow, there's some great content here to be talking about.
Invitations to the Moffrents. Like, look.
Did they send out invitations?
Yeah, e-cards to the Moffrents.
30th annual Moffrents.
Put it on your refrigerator. Yeah, black tie only. Absolutely. Well, I gotta say, guys, I knew this was going to be a wild episode, and it has surpassed my expectations in every way. We've got a request in the chat for Patrick to become a regular, so that's fun. I'll say this much, we have definitely done some disparaging of this book, and we are all about positivity at Utini. So I will say, this book definitely holds a special place. This series holds a special place in the hearts of a lot of Legends fans. And although it is kind of cast aside, much like Palpatine's mutant three-eyed son, Triclops, in Legends, if this is a series that you love, tell us why. Seriously, we've got to know why. Is it just the nostalgia of it? It at least features like original trilogy characters. Luke plays a pretty good role in this. Luke has like a fun little buddy cop adventure with Admiral Akbar, which is we didn't really talk about, but is a ton of fun. Hey, first book out of the gates in writing your own Legends book, Luke goes on an adventure with Admiral Akbar. I mean, that is just really going for it in a great way. Well, I, for one, am excited to finish the rest of the series. We'll post my thoughts in the Discord as I get there and to let everybody know just how, if the series gets any better. Here's a couple of highlights, at least from like the research I've been doing about this series. Beyond this book, we're going to go to at least two more really fun locations. The Lost City of the Jedi on Yavin 4 and Mount Yoda on Dagobah. I mean, doesn't that sound like a place to go on like a winter retreat, Freddie? Mount Yoda?
Snowboard on the mountain of, or that.
I think it's a volcano.
I think it's a volcano
on a swamp planet. Yeah. But you can snowboard. You just have to bring your own snow.
Mudboard? Maybe?
BYOS. Well, everybody, in terms of planning
like
for some more Legends Look Back in your life, there will be no live show on next Thursday or the Thursday after, because both of which are pretty big holidays, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. But we've got a ton of fun content planned for 2021, including more special guests, off-the-wall episodes, cloning experiments gone wrong. Okay, maybe not that one, but if you are looking to get started on your 2021 reading for Legends Look Back, here is a taste of a couple things coming up soon. We're going to be tackling John Jackson Miller's Knights of the Old Republic series. All 50 issues are available, and you can get the Legends Epic Collections with the Utini affiliate links off Amazon and all that good stuff. All of the issues are available in Epic Collections, so those are fairly easy to get your hands on. And we're also going to be talking about Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Academy trilogy before too long as well on our upcoming roundtables. That does it for this week on Legends Look Back. Thanks for joining us. Thanks especially to Meg, our producer, Nathan, our video editor, Ryan, our Twitch graphic designer, Jose, our other graphic designer. We've got an incredible team that has made this episode come to life and has made Legends Look Back be a whole thing live on YouTube and not live on YouTube. We post them on YouTube. We're live every week on Twitch. And you can, of course, find us every week in your own podcatcher app of choice. I want to say also thanks to our incredible patrons. And, of course, like our patrons, you can get in on the behind-the-scenes action at Utini with access to all kinds of bonus shows. We got Cat Faves, we got Lightspeed Skipping, Bounty Hunts, Star Wars Archives, and so much more. Also, now that we're live on Twitch, you can help us out by subscribing. And thanks, of course, to Wes for those bits earlier in the episode, which we didn't mention. You can also subscribe either the old-fashioned way or with Prime Gaming. Also, remember, we want your questions. Email us, legendslookback@utini.com, or send us a message in the Utini Discord, or on YouTube, send us a comment, or you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Jared Q. Mays. Freddie?
At Wake Up Freddy.
And Meg?
At Meg Dowell.
How about you, Patrick? What's your Twitter?
I'm still refraining from that cesspool of...
Not on Twitter.
Yep, I'm still refraining.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. I thought as I was
Freedom.
writing this, maybe you weren't there, but aren't. If you're looking to buy some of these books, want to help support the show, want to help us keep the lights on, you can click the Amazon link in the profile, or we've also got thrift books, we've got eBay, and there's all kinds of ways to get your copy with the Legends banner or without. Hey, either way. Another way to help us out and show your love of Utini is by grabbing some swag from our merch store, utini.com/merch, including the Legends Look Back t-shirt or the It Was So Artfully Done tank. All kinds of fun stuff there. If you've read any of these books, head over to Utini and leave us a review. Let us know what you think. And before we close out the show, I do want to say we did lose a tremendously important, memorable member of the Star Wars community this week. Freddie, I know that you are a massive Boba Fett fan. You want to take the reins on this one?
Yeah, we lost Jeremy Bullock today, I believe. He was about 75 years old. Big fan of him. He's a really good person, and he made us love Boba Fett. Without him, who knows what the stance, the posture, who knows what Boba Fett would.
He brought a lot of swag to the character,
really
for sure.
did, yeah, and that one line he had is all we needed.
And Jeremy Bullock, hey, he's really built his career around spending time with the fans. I don't think there is any Star Wars actor who has dedicated more time, attention, and energy to the fandom than Jeremy Bullock. So rest in peace, Jeremy Bullock. Thanks for lending your talents to the galaxy far, far away. And more importantly, thanks for lending your actual time and love and attention to us as Star Wars fans. And the world is a little bit darker without you. Let us know, everybody, if you have read the Jedi Prince series. We'd love to know your thoughts on these. Thanks for joining us tonight. And remember, of course, keep the Utini fan code and be a force for positivity in the fandom. And until next year, may the Force be with you.
This is a Utini broadcast.